Hello and welcome again to another screencast edition of Autodesk Maya. Today we'll be focusing on advanced UV mapping systems. Now, previously I have taught you guys about inserting color shaders into the Hypershade. Now, that's your basic color shading mapping system. Now, when it comes to video games, you'll see the level of detail on a specific object, and you'll see that there's like a bunch of texture and bump maps to create a certain physical likeness and realism into your game. Now, it would be safe. You think it would be safe to assume that you just all you have to do is select a shader and put in bump, and that's that. Unfortunately, that is not the case. When it comes to UV mapping, it requires a certain amount of detail and unwrapping. Now, with this, if you look through the surface of this box, it may look simple. Now, if you will, please go to UV and UV Editor. This will open up your box with your coordinate plane set up and your box unraveled into this inverted T. Even though through the surface it may look normal, but if you look under the surface in regards to texture mapping, you'll see something completely different. I'll show you an example. So if you will, please right click and hold, drag all the way down until assign new material. Select and it'll open up a box create new material option box. Please select Lambert. So if you will, select Lambert and we'll get a new matted section. It's best that you make a new matted Lambert rather having to deal with default, because if you do another object, create another object, it's going to pretty much paste onto the default Lambert. Anyways, I digress. So what you're going to do is rename Lambert 2 into Crate. Now, if you go into your attribute editor onto the common material attributes, on your color bar, there is a checkerboard box right beside it. Please select the checkerboard box, and it'll open up the Create Render Node options settings. You have a whole laundry list of different textures and UV mappings. So what I want to do is select Checker. And voila, you'll see it. If you do not see your texture, all you need to do is select your object and press the number 6 key. That'll help reveal your rendered textured object. So again, press the number 6 key. If you have any extra clutter here onto your object, make sure and be sure to delete by type in history to clear out any unnecessary data. Now, if you look here, you'll notice something very off. Even though the front faces of here look just perfectly normal, but if you look at the edges, the outer beveled edges of the box crate, you'll see that it's a little bit foggy and snowy, and it tends to flicker. Now, if you were to throw this into Unity or Unreal Engine, you're going to have a lot of normals issues, and it'll end up being either black or white. So we want to avoid that. So I will show you step by step within this process. Now, there are different variations of UV mapping. And if you will, you could open up UV, and there should be at least 4. One of them is automatic, cylindrical, planar, and spherical. Automatic, basically, Maya does all the thinking for you and sort of creates a supposed ideal mapping for your said object. Though it may be great, it is totally unnecessary, so we'll avoid using that, especially with a simplistic object like a polygon primitive cube. We're going to focus on these 3, the cylindrical, planar, and spherical. Now, cylindrical is pretty much what it says. It'll basically UV unwrap your object and pretty much wrap it around. Now, spherical does the same thing within a spherical object, So cylindrical would be best for cylindrical prisms, especially if you're making it's called columns and so on and so forth. Now, planar is the most appropriate one to use. Now, before we could do anything, I'm going to start off with my first face. So I'm going to right click and go to face mode. I'm going to shift select. My edges here. Make sure you don't forget the beveled edges on the top. And I'm going to select my top face. Now, before I decide to go to planar map, I better double check to see where I'm at and where should I project my axes. I'm going to press the W key, which is my shortcut key to the Translate manipulator tool. Now, the way the face is facing, it's usually facing up. So that would mean that the y-axis would be the most appropriate. So I'm going to go to UV, go to planar, and I'll open my mapping options here. On default, it's set to X. Now, remember, as I stated before, that your face is facing up, which means it's facing to the y-axis. So I want to project it from the y-axis. Once I have done that, I'm going to press project. And you'll notice that it creates a more cleaner version of this. I'm going to open up back my UV editor. I'm going to move it out by left mouse clicking, and I'm going to scale it down. I'd rather do that because one, you need to, once you unwrap, you need to make sure it fits within this part of the coordinate plane that is checker box. Anything outside, and when you try to unwrap and put in textures, it's not going to show. So make sure to keep it outside but still close by. So this is my top part here, so I'll remember that. Now I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom. So I'm going to select, shift select and hold my faces and beveled edges. Make sure that all beveled edges and faces that are on the bottom are selected. And you'll notice if it's like a peachy orange tint. So everything looks good here, here, and here. So once I have that, and since it's facing down, so up and down would be the y-axis, left and right would be the x, and front to back would be z. So I don't have to change anything. I'll select planar because it's already set to y-axis. And there we go again. It's set, straightened out. This is up, down. So right here. I'm going to place it here just to, it's a good indicator to where it should meet the same size. Now, I've got that set up. I'm going to place it down so I know from up from down. Now, that's the first part done. Everything's looking pretty clean and pristine. Everything is on the same size, same shape here. I know I need to work on the innards right here, but that could be easily fixed without any problem. So we have to do it on an individual basis. Now, I'm going to work on to my side. So I'm going to select my side faces. Again, a good indicator to figure out where you're at, follow the compass or where it's directing. If you want to see something like a larger compass, just press the W key again. If you see your face from your polygon primitive, and if it's facing in a direction to where your manipulator's at, so if it's facing this way, and this happens to be the x-axis. So I'm going to change it up to the x-axis. So I'll make sure I selected everything here. Everything looks good. All right. Now I'll go back to UV, planar. Make sure you select the box on the side and change it to X. Then project. And you'll see the position of the axis it's being projected to. Now it looks a lot more cleaner. Go back to my UV editor, move this out. I'm going to shift click and drag to resize. If you want, adjust it to the center to make sure it is the same size and scale here. So I'm going to place this to my X on my right side. Basically, this is how it should look like. Make sure when you're unwrapping the UVs that the lines that creates like the black box, it matches the same scale to from the top and the bottom. So if it's going to be from the beveled edges, make sure it's even and in the same proportion. So I'm going to repeat the same process on the other side, my left side. Once I have that, I'm going to UV unwrap, pressing planar. I got it set. Now I'm going to go back here, move it to the center, and resize as such. Now I'm going to make sure, look at my beveled edge here, just like that. It's matched, it's proportioned to right here on the top. Should do the same thing on the bottom. If not, I could easily fix this. Now, do the same thing. So it's pretty much proportionate here, here, and here. Ta-da! Just like that. Now everything looks pretty good on that part. Now I want to go focus on the front to back. So if I already established the x-axis and the y, then that means that's left is the z. So I'm going to select my faces here, here, and here. And let's see. UV, go to the box of planar, project it from z-axis, and project. I'm going to repeat the same process here. I'm going to resize. Like that. Now, let me look here. Since I have a beveled edge, move this to this spot. Now, there we go. So it's proportionate to the area it needs to be. I want to place it right here. Here, I just want to center it. just like that. And last but not least, here we go. I'm going to select my faces here. Go here and planar. Move this up there. Resize. Here we go. You want to have some portions of the same size, shape. Here, here, here. Everything looks like it's proportioned. So everything looks good on this end. As for the individuals, all you have to do is just make sure to where the face is pointing. Again, press the W key. It'll direct you. So if it's facing this way to this side, then that you would have to change up your projection to X. That's an example. But you repeat the same process and unfurl it until you got everything and put it aside. But pretty much that covers it for today's screencast edition of Autodesk Maya. We'll continue again on the next screencast. Thank you.